So there was recently a tweet sent out by Aaron Forsyth of Wizards of the Coast, essentially asking why is Standard dead. He was asking people's opinions on why his Standard play dried up at their local game store. So I wanted to give my thoughts and opinions on this issue because Standard used to be my favorite format. I would play it all the time, but for the past few years, I've had zero interest in it. And I believe it's likely that some people, at least, might feel the same way that I do in regards to this issue. And in my opinion, there are two things which directly contributed to people losing interest in Standard. And the first one of those things is the fact that Wizards abolished the Pro Tour. If you look back through the history of Magic, the Pro Tour was something that existed for many, many years, and there was interest in Standard or whatever the Pro Tour format was of the time. But as soon as they got rid of the Pro Tour, people stopped caring about Standard. And I have some cards laid out here. These are cards which were in the deck lists of winners of previous Pro Tours which took place in the Standard format. And I wanted to point some of these out because even after all these years later, I still remember the Standard format for these Pro Tours, I remember the decks, and I remember the names of the people that played them. For example, Pro Tour Journey into Nyx, won by Patrick Chapin. Pro Tour Magic 2015, won by Yvonne Flock. Pro Tour Dragons of Tarkir, won by Martin Dang. Pro Tour Amonkhet, won by Jerry Thompson. And Pro Tour Dominaria, won by Wyatt Darby. These in-person Pro Tours used to be a big deal. They were big events that people, me included, would spend their entire weekend watching. And because these events were held in the Standard format, that generated interest in the Standard format, because you could see top professional level Magic players playing Standard, and in seeing this, it would kind of give you the drive to try and achieve that for yourself. And the point I'm trying to make with this idea is that I believe interest in Standard is driven by in-person, high-level competitive Magic. And when you take that away, the interest in Standard just instantly disappears. I believe that in general, when people used to play Standard, they played it because they wanted to win. If they wanted to play just to go out and have some fun, they could play Commander or Draft, and those formats are still quite popular today. But because, there's no competitive in-person Magic, Standard is gone. Even people that used to say they didn't like Standard, they would still play Standard because they would want to try to achieve getting onto the Pro Tour and playing high-level Magic like this. I have friends who would typically only play something like Modern because they didn't want their deck to rotate. However, if there was an upcoming Pro Tour in Standard, they would still build a Standard deck because they would see the Pro Tour as Standard. Therefore, the Grand Prix leading up to the Pro Tour would be Standard, and because they wanted to go to these Grand Prix to try and get onto the Pro Tour, they would go to the local game store to play their Standard decks, to play test it, so that they could get some Planeswalker points and experience to potentially get some buys and do well at these Standard Grand Prix to try and play on the Standard Pro Tour. So people would see a clear path in which they could take to get from where they were at the time to get to the very top of competitive Magic through playing in-person events. They could start by playing Standard events at their local game store, wherever they were, get some Planeswalker points, get some buys, go to a Grand Prix, use those buys to hopefully have a better chance at doing well, and then maybe if they won the Grand Prix or top 8'd, they could get on the Pro Tour, all of this through playing in-person Magic in the Standard format. That was what I used to do too. Even this playmat that you see here is one that I got at a Grand Prix, which I drove for about 7 hours to go to, because I wanted to do well in it. I wanted to win. I didn't want to go there just to play some games and have some fun, because I could do that at home if I want. I wanted to go to this thing to win. And some people might say, well, you can still play high-level competitive Magic in the Standard format. You can just do it on Arena. But here's the thing. Playing Magic on Arena and playing in real life is not the same thing. It doesn't give you the same experience, the same gratification, and I believe that the overlap between the people that would play Standard on Arena and the people that would play Standard in real life is not very much. This is something that I can speak to personally because, as I said, Standard used to be my favorite format. However, I never play Standard on Arena anymore. And if you look to the time when Arena was introduced and really became popular, that overlaps quite a lot with when the interest in Standard started to die off. Sure, there are still World Championships and high-level events like that and whatnot on Arena, sometimes in the Standard format, but I really don't have any interest in watching people play from their home at their computer on this, tiny little camera in the corner here. It's just not the same experience at all as watching an in-person Pro Tour. Arena is great for what it is, it's good for teaching new people to play Magic. It's very quick and easy to learn, but it's not a replacement for in-person high-level competitive Magic. And I don't think that one thing has to replace the other. Arena didn't need to replace in-person Magic, and in order to bring back in-person Magic, you don't need to get rid of Arena. They can exist alongside each other. So I believe the way to bring interest back to playing Standard is very simple. It's just go back to exactly what you were doing before for the past 2 decades that worked just fine. Bring back in-person Pro Tours, bring back Grand Prix that lead to those Pro Tours, and honestly, bring back Planeswalker points even. Like, people used to joke about them and say that they meant nothing, but honestly, people that I know, and myself included, and yes, this is anecdotal, but I feel like many people did the same thing also, we would check our Planeswalker points after events and try to get enough to allow us to have a bye at a Grand Prix, because that would allow us to have a leg up on the competition and have a better chance at doing well. And I don't think it even has to be specifically bring back Planeswalker points and Grand Prix. It just has to be something that fills this role in which you can use to start from the very bottom, playing weekly at your local game store, and follow this direct path to the top of in-person competitive Magic. But I think what does need to be brought back is in-person Pro Tours with live coverage. And honestly, I believe if you bring that back and you have it take place in the Standard format, overnight, the interest in Standard would be reinvigorated. So in short, that's my answer. Bring back in-person Pro Tours and Grand Prix which take place in the Standard format, and give people a direct path to play in those through playing in-person Magic. So I'd be happy to know your thoughts on this video and your opinions on the matter. If you're still watching, thanks for watching. It'd be cool if you can like and subscribe and all that kind of stuff, and leave your thoughts in the comments below. If you'd like to purchase any Magic cards, you can get those by going to Face-to-Face Games right here. They were one of the organizers of this event, apparently, that I went to years ago before I started working with them. But if you use code 8thPlaceDave at the checkout when you go to Face-to-Face Games, you can save 5% on your order. Also, I'd encourage everyone to come join my Discord server. You can find a link to that in the video description below. And also, I'd like to take a moment to thank all the patrons who support me on Patreon. But otherwise, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.